For exclusive podcasts and more, sign up at patreon.com/partnersincrimemedia.
This week's Law & Order Marathon winner is Sarah Childs-Frink of Hatesville, Maryland. Sarah will get a marathon decal showing she watched 26.2 hours of her favorite crime show. To be next week's winner, sign up at lawandorderpodcast.com.
I'm Kevin Flynn with Rebecca Lavoie and Tara Ariano, and these are their stories.
You think you know who did it, but you don't know who did it. Law and order, law and order, law and order. It's no ordinary police procedural, baby. It's the FNOG of police procedurals, baby. Law and order, law and order, law and order, law and order. These are their stories, these are their stories.
Welcome to These Are Their Stories, the podcast about network TV's most enduring crime franchise and the real-life cases that inspired their shows. I'm Kevin Flynn. Each podcast will break down an episode from either Criminal Intent, SVU, or Original Recipe. And today we're looking at Law & Order, Season 20, Episode 4, Reality Bites.
All right, so someone's lying. Is it the husband or the septomom?
I'm liking the husband. His wife didn't want to do the show. He was trying to convince her.
I don't know. The septomom's brought so many extra people into this world, she might feel entitled to take one out.
Joining me to do just that is true crime author and the host of Crime Writers On and Netflix's You Can't Make This Up podcasts, Rebecca Lavoie. Hello, Rebecca.
You forgot my favorite credential.
Which
Bouncy Gringo is my favorite credential.
Son of a bitch. Rounding out the panel is our special guest from the Extra Hot Great podcast and a million things that we love. It's Tara Ariano. Hi, Tara.
Hello.
You were our very first guest on These Are Their Stories on September 13th, 2016.
Wow.
Did your career take off after that?
My whole life is different, yes.
On SVU this season, they've got Warner, Barba, Annabelle Sciorra is back as Barrick from Criminal Intent, and of course they've got Chris Maloney as Stabler and his whole new show. Is this like going to a concert where we're like, yeah, the new stuff's good, but play the hits?
I don't watch it anymore.
Oh!
I stopped watching a couple of years ago.
What was the precipitating event that made you stop watching? Was it Olivia's kidnapping by Lewis or something like that?
No, I don't really watch cop shows anymore because of the propaganda of it all. Like it just in about 2018, around the end of whatever that season was. I just thought, I don't need to do this anymore. It makes me feel gross. So I stopped. So this is the first time I've revisited the Law & Order. I mean, Sarah made a presentation for, I'm sure, past guest of this podcast, Sarah D. Bunting, who is our co-host on Extra Hot Great. She presented the infamous Is This Because I'm a Lesbian episode of original Flavor Law & Order for our canon this year.
Is this because I'm a lesbian?
And this is the first time I've watched Law & Order since then.
Wow.
And before that Serena episode, it had been a long, long time. And I used to watch it every day. Like whatever, I knew every channel, every cable channel that had a marathon, whatever day it was, I knew if it was Ion or Sundance or We. I would just have it on all day. And then it just came a point where I just could not do it anymore. So, I have no comments on SVU this season. Sorry.
Tara, you'll be happy to hear that SVU this season spent approximately 1/3 of one episode addressing race and George Floyd. And now it's all fixed in that universe.
Oh, great.
Everything's fine.
Everything's good.
I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah, and we don't know how woke the new Chris Maloney is going to be.
It's not going to be woke.
But you can definitely you can definitely bet that Munch, wherever he is totally into QAnon.
That's for sure.
All right, now let's take a look at the first half of this episode, Law & Order, Season 20, Episode 4, Reality Bites. Scene opens. Interior of a multi-passenger van. We see Larry Johnson and 9 of 10 of his children with special needs pull up in front of their brownstone. He goes inside to get his wife, Joy, and finds her dead on the floor. She's been bludgeoned with a Special Olympics trophy.
I left work at 3 to pick up the kids. On Thursdays, we put the young ones in daycare so my wife can have a few hours off.
Was anything missing from the house?
I kept some money, maybe $8,000 in the desk for emergencies.
A neighbor told the responding officers that he saw a bouncy Hispanic woman leaving the house around noon.
Bouncy, what does that even mean?
And that's when Tim, Larry's oldest boy, shows up with blood on his hands. Tim, who has autism, says he left school early and found his adopted mother on the floor. When pressed on why he got in trouble for throwing pencils in class, Tim just says, "Okay, I did it." And so ends another 4-minute episode of Law and Order. But kindly and cancer-ridden Van Buren gets Tim to admit that he only said that because he didn't want Dad to know that DJ stole his fanny pack. Or as DJ called it, Tim's gay-ass fanny pack, which contained the key to the house. DJ's mom says she was there when Joy got an angry phone call from someone. Lupo and Bernard visit Belinda Alvarez, a wacky single mom raising 10 kids all her own. Both she and the Johnsons were finalists for a reality show about non-traditional families. Belinda says she visited Joy, who said she didn't want to do the show, so it was going to be Belinda's. But when the detectives returned to the brownstone, they find Larry's already begun shooting the reality show. Artie, the TV producer, says Joy was reluctant, but the day after the murder, he got the signed contract from Larry. Larry's accountant says his real estate business has been failing, plus he was seen leaving work at noon, not 3 o'clock, which blows his alibi for the day of the murder. Seems Larry's been fucking a babysitter, which is still so basic. His shirt was in her laundry, and it has specks of Joy's blood, which he explains away in a heartwarming story about his daughter and a grapefruit knife. But Lupo can't get over why Larry kept the kids in the van when he discovered Joy. After assembling all 10 of the children, Agatha Christie style, the detectives learned the kids always rush inside first thing. I guess he just didn't want them to find the body. So, with cameras rolling, they arrest Larry.
Oh,
a lot going on
that
there.
That was a lot.
So in real life, Lupo and Bernard would have just thrown Tim in jail Brandon Dassey style, right? And been done with it?
Yes.
Now, if something bad happened, this would be a good time to tell us.
I don't have anything to tell you.
You could tell us why you were mad at school.
Okay, I did it. I killed her.
He confessed? Okay, good enough.
Yes,
Yeah.
and instead, they use him to get a confession from another kid. I mean, I'll tell you, he becomes a very important part of this plot. But yes, in real life, the lieutenant probably would not have been so kindly, and this would not have turned out well for poor Tim.
This is why Tim left the crime scene. He said,
"Because the police always suspect the person who was close to the body, or sometimes the boyfriend."
Yeah, look, this guy's already a better detective than Cassidy, I think, right?
Yeah, his dad, who's played by Jim Gaffigan, I forget if you said that part. He says that Tim loves cop shows. So he's very eager to cooperate. And this is a device they use a lot on this show, which I love, when they have a person who has learning differences, who is just like very into the cops and like super excited to cooperate with them.
Yeah, he's even like, wow, this would be a really great day for him if his mother wasn't just killed. He's loving this.
Yeah. I actually really liked him. I don't know. There's something about Tim that I found very heartwarming. I like that he has a fanny pack. He leans into it. He's not afraid to have a fanny pack. It's a bold fashion choice.
I call him Little Gorin.
That's actually very accurate.
Yeah. Hey, we get to meet Belinda, who's all like, "What? You like me?
Oh, love her.
Oh, you think I got personality?
Love her."
So you called Mrs. Johnson the other day.
Just to lay out the facts. I explained to her that I'm much younger and prettier than she was, and that my personality will come across on TV. Don't you think?
She describes her show would-be show as John and Kate +8, but less depressing. No truer words have ever been said, Tara.
Yeah. It also really situates this episode in history. Making the John and Kate reference. Wow.
Was this post-scandal John and Kate or pre-scandal John and Kate?
Oh, I don't know. That there's sort of a...
I think it was post. You know why?
Why?
I remember that happening shortly after we got married, the John and Kate thing, the whole breakup.
But they broke up?
Yeah.
Oh.
So I'm wondering if it was like sort of during that. But for the record, I think the whole idea of John and Kate was pretty depressing before all that stuff happened. That's just my opinion.
We know that when they rip from the headlines that sometimes they don't stray too far from the source material. But Larry's TV show was called Larry +10.
Yeah. This is one of their lazier grafts onto the headlines. They didn't stray too far. But yeah, when they meet Belinda, the other thing that situates it in history is that she name checks Nadya Sulema.
Right.
Because she had been hoping for octuplets. She only ended up with septuplets in addition to the triplets that she already had.
Oh, but give her time because the next show is going to be Belinda plus 11.
Yeah, I loved Belinda. Honestly, I found her extremely likable. If I were choosing between her and Jim Gaffigan's character in the show, I don't want to slight poor Jim Gaffigan himself, I'd pick her. She's funny. She's attractive. She enjoys learning new words. Very openly.
New words.
She does. She was ecstatic. I mean, she is just, what did she say later? She has like another vocabulary word that I found her extremely charming. She's who I would have picked for the record.
To quote Tara Ariano, we have a Hey, It's That Guy.
Hey, it's that guy.
We actually have a huge amount of Hey, It's That Guys and Hey,
There's
It's That
a bunch.
Girls.
Yeah.
If people are saying, how come this episode was 3 hours long? It was because Kevin had to name check a whole bunch of people. So our Hey, It's That Guy, who's playing Dad of the Year, Larry Johnson?
Joy wouldn't say that. Joy wanted this show. She wanted the world to see our beautiful children.
That's Jim Gaffigan, future star of his own show about his own real-life million kids.
Yeah, he's been on Law & Order 3 times, and we have now officially covered all 3 by accident, except, this one here.
Trifecta.
6-time Grammy nominee, 2-time Emmy winner. He really could get into this part because, as Tara mentioned, that he is the youngest of 6 siblings. His wife is one of 9 siblings, and he has 5 kids.
Yeah.
Can you imagine what that Zoom Christmas call was like?
Oh, my God. Yeah, he, until relatively recently, he and his wife lived in a 2-bedroom apartment in the West.
Fuck out of here.
It wasn't in the West Village. It was but it was in Manhattan with all of their kids in bunk beds. And so they had a sitcom on TV Land for a while.
Yeah.
And it was covered their lives. And he was a really successful touring comedian. But even so, when you have 5 children and you live in Manhattan, that may be the best place that you can afford. If it was rent controlled, I get it. And they were Catholics, so that's why you have 5 kids.
Yeah.
You know what's weird about Jim Gaffigan?
No.
He's weirdly always just Jim Gaffigan and also weirdly versatile at the same time. They have him playing 3 very different parts. He's a horrible villain in one, but it's Jim Gaffigan. It's not it's not like Morgan Freeman playing Morgan Freeman in every role. It's Jim Gaffigan, that's Jim Gaffigan. But I don't know, do you think he's weirdly versatile too?
I do. Yeah, for sure. He brings that. He's from Indiana in real life, and he brings that Midwestern affability to these parts where you can see how he either is a real good guy or he's getting away with shit because he seems like a good guy.
That's on the nose.
So who's playing Larry's attorney?
What people did see, as the evidence will show, is another woman who desperately wanted to be on that show, leaving the Johnson house at the time of the murder.
Oh, I know that one.
Yeah, go for it.
That's the way too young-looking Maren Hinkle, I think is her name.
So beautiful. Stunning.
Oh, my God. She plays the marvelous Mrs. Maisel's mother.
Yes,
and
Rose.
And what's incredible about her is that, I know this was made in 2009, but I did the math. She was 43 during this episode. She was she was 24 years old.
Oh, yeah.
And in The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, she actually is old enough to be Rachel Brosnahan's mother, but they have to make her look old because she is the youngest looking 50-something person I have ever seen and looks not like she's had work done. That's just what she looks like.
Incredible genes. Yeah.
She's been nominated twice for an Emmy for that role. 5 Law & Order Universe appearances.
5.
Yeah. She's probably best known, though, as Judith Harper, John Cryer's ex-wife on 2.5 Men.
Never saw it.
So
sorry, John.
Hashtag Tiger Blood. So who's playing our Octomom, Belinda Alvarez?
She thought it was deleterious.
Deleterious?
I had to look it up, too. It would damage the kids. She didn't like it. They weren't going to do it.
She was new to me.
Yeah.
That's Nina Lesandrello. She was Detective Tess Sargis on CW's Beauty and the Beast.
Okay.
Yes, I know that was one everybody watched, right? Look, she was involved in a paternity suit against Robert De Niro. Yeah, her mom claimed
far more interesting.
Yeah, her mom claimed that Nina was his child.
Oh, my.
And, but the case was thrown out in 1993 after some blood tests. So, meet the parents? No, it wasn't him. Who's playing Larry's accountant? Who's listed in the credits as Larry's accountant?
I recognize her face, but I couldn't pull any of her credits.
The rat lady?
There was a rat.
Where?
Over there, and then it ran over there. Can you hand me that file?
Yeah, that's Geneva Carr. Today, she is playing Marissa Morgan on Bull on CBS. She's the one who's always talking in the earpiece, Cyrano de Bergerac style.
You don't watch Bull? What are you talking
You
about?
don't even know what channel CBS is on. So, yeah. Can you tell me the name of the actor playing TV producer Artie Kramer?
The contract needed to be signed by both of them, right?
Originally, sure. But after she died, it only needed his.
Did Mrs. Johnson ever sign it?
No, just Larry. I didn't get it back until after she was killed.
That's Michael Showalter from The State.
Yeah.
And now a big director.
That's right.
Big director and actor. He co-created and starred in Search Party.
Ah, love Search Party.
And Wet Hot American Summer, which also featured Chris Maloney.
That's
Come
right.
on, yeah, you
Of
go.
course.
Guys, I'm putting it down. You got to pick it up, you know?
Not doing it.
How about that young actor playing Tim?
Other kids pick on me. They move my things around and I have to put them back, or they take my things even.
That's Cola Scola, who's also the bad guy on Search Party in the
Yeah.
episodes that just dropped.
Are you
Yeah.
kidding?
No, she's not kidding.
He's
It's
a grown-up now and he's in Search Party?
Oh, sorry. Cole uses they, them pronouns.
Those are the pronouns
Got
that
it.
they
Got
are using. On stage, they played a lot of female characters. So Cole has a collection of 38 wigs, which they store in 7-Eleven donut boxes under their bed, like one does.
Cole is very, very funny on the tragically just canceled At Home with Amy Sedaris. So if you have HBO Max, please watch that because it's so good.
Who spotted the judge?
Me, that's Dorothy Lyman.
Your client's charged with murder, not healing lepers.
Yes, 2-time Emmy Award winner for Opal Gardner on All My Children. Rebecca, how could you totally miss that
I
one?
missed it. Sorry.
She's probably best known as Naomi Oates Harper for 7 years on Mama's Family with Vicki Lawrence.
Was she wearing like a wig the whole time?
Probably.
Like
Always
dress?
a wig and always an off-the-shoulder, like, elasticy.
Oh, she was the sexy one.
Yes.
She was like the, the Jack A. Harry 227,
Exactly.
but of that show, right?
Yep.
I wouldn't think it was put that way, but all right. All right, last one. Who was playing the assistant medical examiner?
Baron Vaughn.
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Based on lividity and body temp, I put time of death between 12 and 2. Looks like a palm print in the blood over there.
Rebecca, you have no idea who Baron Vaughn is, do you?
Nope.
Black comedian. He plays Sam Waterston's adopted son on Grace and Frankie. Do you think they ever sat around at lunch and he goes, hey, I was on Law & Order too,
Totally.
Well, there's a quick scene where Anita Van Buren is checking her insurance coverage.
Paying bills, Lou.
Checking our insurance plan, the lifetime cap.
Is it enough?
Well, if I'm cured in the next 3 months is fine. Otherwise, I know where you can get a good deal on a used Toyota.
We know she is being treated for cervical cancer. And other than her season-long lawsuit against the city for discrimination back in season 7, this is really the first time they have given her, the supporting character, a season-long dramatic arc to be all her own and to really kind of sink her teeth into. And then they canceled the show.
Yeah.
Did we want more AVB or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, she's like my favorite character in like the whole franchise. I love her. The question I have about this storyline is I always thought, maybe I'm just misinformed, that cops had awesome health insurance. Like that's the reason to be a cop, to find out that you have some lifetime limits so you can't even get cancer. What kind of insurance is that? It's terrible.
Well, I think this is before Obamacare. So, Tara, what did you think about this idea to give her this storyline?
I have to say I never liked it when we had season arcs for the characters. I thought it was clumsy. I didn't think it was the strength of the show. I mean, to me, the reason that Law & Order works is because every episode is almost completely self-contained. And that one season where like Briscoe's daughter gets killed and what's her face is fighting her husband for custody and blah blah blah, like everyone had an arc. It was like too much, don't care. It was clearly a failed experiment because they never did it again, and until this one, as you point out. So I don't think it's something that the show needed, and I also didn't want to see her have cancer. Like that's a bummer.
Same.
Yeah, so we like them and we love the characters, but we want them to go home and stay there.
Right.
Exactly. Okay. I mean, it's fine if you, like, someone comes in and is like, gets a phone call like, oh, your kid needs you to go to their school or something. Like, have it just, whatever happens can just exist in the episode. Beyond that, don't care.
So I never really knew how erotic it must be to work with 10 children with special needs in a New York brownstone. Looking over at the dad like, oh, yeah.
It just kind of happened.
Joy went to bed early. It was raining. Larry offered to drive you home. His wife was too busy with the kids to pay much attention to him.
Listen, you know what she loved about him?
What?
He always wore blue, so he was built for TV because he knew about continuity, obviously.
Yeah. Right.
But the thing about her that's so funny is that, like, she also deeply loved the mom. Like, you wouldn't believe this, but even though I'm messing around with her husband, I loved her a lot. I was really a little heart there, I thought.
Maybe she was messing around with the mom, too. I mean, let's be progressive.
Joy was a saint. Joy was not messing around with anyone.
And by the way, can I leave my bloody shirt here?
For you to wash?
For you to wash.
That's the whole thing. If he's leaving his clothes there so his wife won't know, that means she's also doing his laundry, in addition to being his babysitter to his 10 kids with special needs and having to do him. Like, that's a lot of work. It's a lot of emotional labor in addition to actual labor.
That's just emotional.
I thought we were supposed to think, based on how relatively nice that apartment was, that he was paying for it.
Oh.
Maybe.
She's a kept woman?
It seemed like a very nice apartment for someone who's a babysitter. So even though they didn't get into it, I thought if he's a real estate developer, he is, at least when times were good, he could afford to keep her.
Well, he was already paying her, so I think it's like, maybe it's assumed, right? It's like,
right.
How'd you like to go to the next level? So this is a Bernard and Lupo season, and I just want to quickly go around the horn and say, what do we think of these characters?
I love them.
You really like them?
I love Lupo.
Some people are like, well, if it's not Briscoe, I don't care.
No, I feel like they had a lot of potential that we didn't get to see. And it's so funny because, like, if you look at what they did after this show, especially Anthony Anderson, like, he is, I mean, there's so much about him that is like tailor-made to be a cop on Law and Order. The snappy one-liners, the sort of like ability to eat a scene at the same time being subtle in a scene. I don't know. I really like Lupo and Bernard myself. I know they're not for everybody, but I'm a big fan.
We had them for 2.5 seasons, Tara. I mean, do you think the audience liked them, or again, are they just sort of like junior varsity replacements for our real favorites?
Yeah, I mean, I think I feel like people feel more fondly towards, at least the ones I know, toward Lupo because they like him, Jeremy Sisto from Clueless. I think he has a lot of residual goodwill from that role, even though he was playing kind of a scumbag in that movie, that people like him from that. But I think they were fine. I agree. I mean, 2.5 seasons is a long time, but not in the Law and Order universe.
Right.
Like that's like a blip, you know, in the fullness of Law and Order
it's like
time.
a cameo.
Basically, it feels like nothing. So it's like I don't think people had a chance to really lock in on them.
Right.
You know, those aren't the years that got repeated ad nauseum on A&E. Like, they came so long in the run. I don't think that we had enough time to imprint on them, even though they've continued to be in reruns, obviously, on TNT and everywhere else.
And it's the only seasons you can get on Peacock.
On Peacock, yeah.
Yeah, I thought we were getting the whole thing, Dick Wolf. Take your $1 billion and run, you son of a...
It really is a bait and switch. It's true. Boy.
But we got all the criminal intent. Woo!
For how much they, like, touted Law and Order is finally coming to streaming, like, asterisk, asterisk, like, not the seasons anyone really cares about that much. I mean, they're still good, but anyway, to answer your question, I think they're fine. It's such a particular style of acting that I almost feel like you could plug anyone in. Yeah. They would do a passable job. Like, even someone spoofing a Law and Order style of acting is almost as good as the real thing. So I think they're fine. I think they do a good job.
And that's a wrap.
And that's a wrap.
And that's a wrap.
I loved that line delivery. I love it. It was like it felt very improv to me in a way that I like.
Larry Johnson, you're under arrest for murder.
That's a wrap.
Well, let's talk about that scene, because this is important. Bernard and Lupo feel like the Septomom isn't a credible witness because she also wanted that TV show. So, to find more credible witnesses, they get all the kids around the table, and Tim, or I should say future Goran.
Okay, so on the day that your mother got hurt, what happened?
I don't know.
You do, Squirt. You're smart.
I am am smart.
So tell the two detectives.
Darnell started to unbuckle Amy, and Dad said, stop.
He gets the children to say that Dad always lets the kids go in the house except this one time. And that's when they make the arrest?
Yes.
Because it's not so much like a defense attorney would destroy these children.
Of course.
But the thing is, oh, wait a minute. No blood, no weapon, no motive, no. He got out of the van first.
A change in routine.
Put the cuffs on him.
Yes.
I thought that was silly.
I mean, A, and B, it's really unethical to
you think?
enlist this child who they've established is in high school. So presumably he's under 18. Like, he's not your partner. Like, this is not his job to have him turn essentially against his own siblings to get this not confession, but to get this, interrogation done is kind of gross. And the fact that it never comes up again, like Larry's defense attorney never brings it up, like to try and get it thrown out, is crazy to me.
All of America got to see it on the TV show Larry Plus 10.
Fruit of the poisonous tree, though, right?
Well, it depends on whether they find that's
maybe
a coerced confession.
Did the aunt say it was fine for him to just talk to them? I have a question about that scene, though, because Gaffigan walks in with his pizzas for everyone, and he totally sees they're right there, but he pretends he doesn't see them there, and he's like, "What are you doing here?" After he makes his big pizza pronouncement, what was that? Was he just mugging it up for the camera? Is that what's going on? Okay.
He's being a good reality show participant, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. If my wife had been murdered and the homicide detectives were there, I wouldn't be so incredulous. What are you doing here? Let me guess. It has to do with my case. All right, now let's take a look at the second half of this episode. Larry Johnson gets bail to take care of the kids, but only if he stays off the TV show. Artie, the producer, remembers Connie Rubirosa from college, and he has a new idea for the show.
Cameras aren't allowed in the courtroom.
So outside the court, DA doing prep, DA briefing us on developments.
The DA telling you you're out of your mind.
It's an opportunity to take your case to the public. Plus, I have tapes of Larry Johnson and his wife when they were being considered for the show, talking about whether or not to do it, and not always agreeing.
Well, the video of Larry and Joy's disagreement was pretty weak. At trial, Belinda testifies Joy didn't want to do the program, and that's when the defense pulls out the audition tape of Belinda saying she'd kill to get on the show. And then she makes the "don't fuck with me because I might actually do that" face. The defense asks Artie if maybe Johnson's delay in signing the contract was a ploy to get more money. He says nope. He got a call from Larry's man accountant. Well, Connie makes a note on her pad. Larry's accountant wasn't a man accountant. It was a woman accountant. Or I guess we could just call it accountant. But in this case, it was actually important.
It's relevant.
Well, she asks Artie for that phone number, and they trace it back to a loan shark named Sammy Shiner. Cutter's waiting for Larry to testify that he didn't need the money just so he can subpoena that loan shark. But he leaves the country before they can get to him. How did he know he was going to be called? Well, the cameras picked up the notes on Connie's pad when he was talking to Artie. With the prosecution unable to really pin him down on a financial motive, the jury is deadlocked. Cutter and Rubirosa tell McCoy the reality show is changing to feature Larry and all of his kids, and Belinda and all of her kids, in a Long Island mansion with the human lie detector and Arthur Branch so viewers can vote on who the real killer is.
Oh, my God.
Okay, they start off by watching clips from the TV show, and here's a statement, by the way, that doesn't hold up so well.
Very entertaining. Whatever happened to the Cosbys?
Yeah, that was good.
Clearly, McCoy doesn't have a Discovery Plus subscription because he is not aware of the whole world of reality TV.
Hey, I'll tell you what happened to the Cosbys. They all stopped getting their residuals in 2018. No more reruns. Well, there's this great sequence where Rubirosa has to do the scene for the show. And she pulls up in a taxi to do this interview.
Listen, can you arrive again?
Arrive again?
Drive around the block?
And she really doesn't want to do it.
Now, can you tell what you're going to be doing in there today?
Tell who?
The camera. Like it's if you're talking to a friend.
And Cutter calls her from across the street to twist the knife.
What?
You having fun?
I am going to kill you, and then I'm going to kill McCoy.
On camera?
I don't care. I'd be better off in prison. Where are you?
I'm in the courthouse.
You almost here?
Yes, except first I have to tell my friend the camera what's going on.
You don't really get scenes like this in Law & Order where you can laugh at the characters. They sometimes do funny things, and we chuckle at the snarky remarks. But as far as like one person doing something where the other one can laugh at them and we can laugh along, that's really doesn't happen a lot. I thought it was terribly enjoyable.
I did too. I thought that was cute.
Arrive again?
Oh my God, it's joke time.
I'll say it's so funny that Artie, like, they needed the excuse.
I think that's the way Cutter would say it if he could get her in bed.
I know. It's so funny that they had the excuse that he had known her from college instead of just saying, like, you're gorgeous. Do you want to be in my reality show? Like, if you walked across her, like, in the street, you'd be like, you should be on my TV show, even if you didn't have a TV show. That's how good looking she is.
So are you saying that Alana de la Garza is hands down the most beautiful person ever cast on Law & Order, and you have to say it because I'm thinking it, but I can't say it out loud?
I think that is true.
Okay, thank you.
Wow.
Except maybe for Ed Green. Just going to say it.
I don't know.
Jesse L. Martin is up there, too, for me.
I don't know, Tara. I think that she's just...
She is very pretty. I think Angie Harmon is very pretty, too.
Agreed.
Oh, yeah.
Agreed.
We can have a face-off.
But to back up to what you said, to if he could get her in bed, aren't they sleeping together? I thought they dropped hints through that season that they were totally fucking.
Well, the hints were that Cutter, who has been spending the past year, previous season, sort of complaining about her to McCoy, that he is infatuated with her,
right.
but it's not reciprocated.
Right.
Or at least she is aware of it, but she hasn't said anything.
She ignores it.
Yeah, so it seems like in addition to, the old season-long cancer thing, that they might be reaching way back to try to get that McCoy-Kincaid thing going again, but...
it just looks like sexual harassment. I gotta say,
yeah, exactly.
We've actually watched episodes, the two of them, and I'm like, that's sexual harassment. She's a lawyer. She knows it. She needs to report it. It's not cool. Isn't there one where he actually asks her out and she says no or something like that?
I don't recall that, but there was an episode, and we did it, where Cutter picked up on that one of the jurors was like really
into her. And he made her be sexy for the juror.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, I remember that.
That was sexual harassment. That was the thing that I was talking about.
That's not sexual harassment. That's prostitution.
I don't remember. It's been too long since I watched it, but I swear I thought there was like enough subtext that we were supposed to think they were an item. But I as I said, I cannot prove.
It might have been subtext. Yeah.
But that would be deleterious to their office work, wouldn't it?
You mean deleterious?
Yes. I just learned that word. No, I'm just kidding. I knew that word.
To back up to Artie, though, I wanted there to be a reveal, because when he's like, don't you remember me from Swarthmore, and drops all these details, and she's like, oh, yeah, in a way that sort of makes it seem like he was so forgettable.
Yeah.
I wanted there to be a reveal at the end to be like, oh, I never went to Swarthmore at all. Like, he just found stuff out because he has ways, because he's a reality TV producer and they can. And that, they didn't actually have that connection at all. That was just how he got his foot in the door with her. But it's fine enough that they actually did go to Swarthmore and she really didn't remember him. That works too.
I bet money that the reality show producer of the Octomom versus murdered wife dad guy is not in the Swarthmore alumni magazine featured with like a picture and like a fancy bio of everything he's accomplished. He's probably their most like shameful graduate, right?
Probably.
I mean, maybe in an earlier issue when he was like working for Ken Burns or something, like cutting his teeth as like the lowliest PA, and now they're like, Artie who?
So I guess his idea was that the show was better with the dead wife, or I should say without the wife.
Yeah.
Or
let's think about the timing, right?
Yeah.
They apparently, this whole thing happens very fast. This show, the contract is signed and then it's on TV like the next night.
Before the funeral.
Right. Like there was just a reality show in real life. It was a cooking show, right? Where the winner was accused of like murdering one of her kids or something. And like that season is never going to air. Like it's never going to happen.
No, it aired.
But it did? Aired. I didn't know that it aired, but like, the fact that they would go forward when she had been bludgeoned to death with a fake Special Olympics trophy like the day before, I don't know. I would think the network would have an issue with that. Am I alone in thinking that?
Yes. I don't think so.
Depends on the network. I mean, if we're talking about Spike, then maybe.
I mean,
right?
There was also someone who was a VH1 person who was murdered.
Yeah.
someone.
That's
And I
true.
can't remember if that was before or after this, but I think those got pulled too. I mean, but TV shows that are about reality TV love to fudge the timelines of this. Like if you watched Unreal,
yes,
same thing, where it was like we were supposed to think that episodes were airing at the same time that they were
Live.
still filming on a Bachelor type show, which
Yeah.
like would never happen. You have to shape those storylines only when you know how they end. You can't be airing them like Big Brother style.
So their trial strategy is busted because the camera inadvertently picks up what's written on Connie's legal pad.
Yes.
Which read, bogus accountant, sedition act, martial law, my pillow.
It's probably the only time she is going to be compared to the My Pillow guy in her entire life. It's the only thing they have in common, right? But I have actually a question about that. Why would the loan shark leave the country? Because if he testified, he was going to get immunity for the crime he had actually committed. Like, why would he leave?
He's not a hitman. Why does he need to run out of the country?
What's in it for him to not put this guy who owes him money, who isn't going to pay him back, in prison? Like, what's in it for him to leave?
If Larry gets convicted, he doesn't do the show. If Larry does the show, he might get his money back eventually.
Good point. And a guy who was on trial for murdering his wife would definitely be allowed to continue being on that reality show.
Well, especially when you hear how they want to, finish it off.
Yeah, they're moving his family with the septomoms into the same mansion on Long Island, along with a human lie detector. You know, one of those guys who can tell if you're lying by the way you blink.
The idea is to have both families compete for prizes and to figure out which head of household murdered Joy Johnson. The television audience gets to vote, and they've asked Arthur Branch to be the judge.
You're kidding, right?
There have been some pretty unrealistic things on
It was
Law
a
and
Fred
Order.
Thompson smackdown is what it was. To me, it felt like they hated Fred Thompson. They had an opportunity to do something shitty with his character now that he was no longer on the show. And this is what they chose to do. He's a hack, and he's going to be like a bad judge on a horrible reality show. That's my theory. That's what I like to think.
I think it would have been funnier if they said it was Michael Moriarty as Ben Stone.
Another lunatic.
Well, let's take a look at the real-life story that inspired this episode. It's time for Ripped from the Headlines.
You think you know who did it. You think you know who did it. But you don't know who did it. You don't know who did it. Ripped from the headlines.
This episode takes cues from the real-life story of Nadya Sulema, otherwise known as the Octomom. Beginning at the age of 21, Sulema had 6 children with her husband, all conceived in a vitro fertilization. After their divorce, she asked her doctor to transfer her remaining embryos at one time. She gave birth to 2 girls and 6 boys in January 2009, setting a world record for the most children delivered at birth to survive. When the octuplets made headlines, the public got their knickers in a proper twist. Many thought being a single mum to 14 children was dodgy thinking. There were protests outside of her new home. The day she brought home the 7th infant, someone tossed a baby seat through her minivan's window. When the octuplets were 3 months old, Sulema announced she'd struck a deal to create a reality show, with each child earning $250 a day. The TV networks wouldn't bite. She stirred up more controversy when she told in Touch magazine she hates babies and finds them disgusting.
Relatable.
Over the years, the Octomom has filed for bankruptcy, worked as a stripper, appeared in a low-budget horror film, went to rehab, and pleaded no contest to welfare fraud. But today, the octuplets appear to be thriving. Reporters say the kids are living outside of Los Angeles and are happy, healthy, and well-mannered.
Okay, so it looked like that...
Wait. What reporters are checking on how well-mannered kids are? I just want to know, like, what's your beat? If you work in a newsroom and they're like, so, Kevin, today your assignment is to go find those octuplets and find out, are they well-mannered?
Well, it was People magazine, I think, that did that.
Yeah, if People magazine would for People, I think they get access to kids, probably. Like, it's not like it's the National Enquirer.
Yeah.
So it sounds like her plan was to maybe... it was she thought she was getting... There were like 3 or 4 embryos left. She didn't know there were 12. Or however it was, and there were 8, ended up being 8 babies. But I feel like that maybe the doctor's to blame.
Listen, I'll tell you why this whole thing is very troubling to me.
Yeah.
It's none of our fucking business what she decides to do with her body.
It's really true.
I mean, honestly, all the outrage about this made me so angry because then I'm like, all you people who say get your thoughts off my body, your ideas off my body. The same goes when you think someone is genuinely making a terrible decision. It is also none of your fucking business.
Yep.
That's how I feel about the Nadya Sulema case. And that's a wrap.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to have 8 babies at any time or sequentially, but that was her choice. And unless she's coming to your house and asking you for money to look after them, it's none of your business. And the crazy thing is that if she were doing it now, she wouldn't need a network to help her do this. Like, she could just go on Instagram,
YouTube,
and monetize them that way.
Yeah.
And it'd be a lot easier, frankly.
Exactly.
The whole way that people monetize their real life has changed so much since this episode aired, and it's only been 12 years? Not even.
Yeah.
11 years.
Yeah.
By the way, the doctor was disbarred.
You mean disbarred or taken his medical license taken away?
Oh, yeah, his medical license taken away.
Good.
Yeah,
He was also a lawyer. I was confused there for a second.
and his lawyer was disbarred, and his mother was slapped in the face.
All
and
right. He committed malpractice by putting so many embryos in her and letting all of them grow. Is that the problem?
Yes,
Because that does seem dangerous. I'll be honest. None of my business. But it's Tara. I mean, I've never had 8 kids at a time, but it seems like a lot.
Again, it would not be up to me, but I don't know how those conversations go where you say all of them are viable. What are you going to do? I understand that normally someone says, okay, well, let's cull them.
What if you don't want to?
Right.
Whose business is that? I mean, yeah.
So again, the kids appear to be doing well.
Yeah, they're well-mannered.
Nadya has got a big Instagram following. As far as the news to her, they have a new addition to the family.
Yeah?
Boots, the stray cat that they found.
There you go.
I bet she's making more money off that cat than she is off of any of those kids. Just a guess.
Well, they're not cute anymore, probably, so. I'm sure they're still cute, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
They're not infants.
They're not monetizable.
Exactly.
Well, I think she can relate to anything that has a litter, right?
Boo! Canceled.
That is going to do it for us. Want to thank our very special guest, Tara Ariano. Tara, where can our listeners follow you online?
I am on Twitter at Tara Ariano, TARAARIANO, and I do have the Extra Hot Grade podcast, as you said, which I co-host with the aforementioned Sarah D. Bunting and David T. Cole. Sarah and I also host a podcast that is now about Melrose Place called Again With This. And my friend Pamela Ribben and I just started a podcast about Sassy Magazine. Very in-depth, deep dive on that.
What is the name of that podcast? I am subscribing right now.
It's called Listen to Sassy.
Yeah.
We are listentosassy.com on the web. We are Listen to Sassy on all of your podcast platforms and at Listen to Sassy on Twitter and Instagram.
And Rebecca Lavoie, how can our listeners follow you?
On Twitter and Instagram, I'm at Reb Lavoie.
And you can track me on Twitter at Kevin P. Flynn. You can also tweet to us at Law & Order Pod, or follow us on Instagram at These Are Their Stories Podcast. Our newsreader was Cy Frater. Our theme music was composed and performed by Uncanny Valleys. Line editing by Henry Lavoie. Content assistance from Travis Roy. Lily Flynn handles promotions. To get ad-free episodes of These Are Their Stories a week early, sign up for Stitcher Premium. All clips in this podcast were used in compliance with the U.S. Copyrights Act Fair Use Exemption for criticism and commentary. Special thanks to the elite squad of the Law & Order Wiki community for preserving the evidence. Go to lawandorderpodcast.com and sign up for our newsletter for a chance to be our next Law & Order Marathon winner. These Are Their Stories was recorded in the Yoga Loft above the Bodega in Bay St. Louis, Mississippi studio and is a production of Partners in Crime Media.